talking to you guys today as ministry students at Northwest. I think what I have to say is very applicable to what we're going through and what we're dealing with. If there's one thing that I want you to get out of what I'm going to say today, it's that God is always eager to show grace to others who would ask for it, no matter who they are. So, I know what you're thinking, me being up here, you're looking at me and you're thinking, that is one fine specimen of a human being. He's about as close to perfect as you can get, and everything is going great for Shawn. He's not going to have any debt when he graduates, he's getting married, he just bought a house, just got taken on staff, and he's up here and he's a stud. And while I'm inclined to agree, my life is pretty good, clear, close to perfect, it's not, and I need God's grace, and so does everyone else. And the fact is, as a human being, I often find myself thinking that sometimes when other people get grace, it's not fair. Have you ever been on 108th over here and you're going like 40 miles an hour and you know you're supposed to be going, what is it, 30? Because 40 just feels better. And there's that cop in the corner and you whiz by him and you're texting on your phone and you're like, oh God, please don't let him pull me over, please don't let him pull me over, please don't let him pull me over. And you get by and you're like, yeah, beat the system. But then you're like going on 405 and you're like stuck in the S curves right before 167, and then like some guy in his crotch rockets whizzing in and out everybody doing wheelies and stuff, cutting you off, or there's an accident and you're like, where is the cop when you need one? Because it's not fair when you get in trouble, but it's totally fair when everybody else gets in trouble, right? Or like if you're, does anyone here have siblings? Does anybody have a little brother or sister or anything? When I was a little kid, my brother would make the mess. I'm the clean freak. My brother would make a mess, and my mom would come home and go, Shawn, clean it up. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I didn't do anything. I have to clean this up for my brother, and he's going to get the same love and affection that I get? He's going to get to eat the same food that I get? Are you kidding? Macaroni and hot dog slices? I have to clean for macaroni and hot dog slices. That's awesome. Thanks, Mom. Grace is actually what kept me in the church. Yesterday was my 5th year anniversary of being alive. It was my Alive Day. I got blown up in Iraq on the 4th of October 2005 in Ramadi, and that's the day I became a Christian, so it's a really important day for me in my life. Really celebrated yesterday as well as mourned yesterday for the loss of one of my friends. But when I decided to come back to church, I was raised up here in the Ten Commandments and understanding that those were good things and that's what you should do. And I didn't understand grace other than you're saved by grace and that's it. So when I started coming to church, I was 19 and I was thinking, you know what, I'm going to listen to Spirit 105.3 KCMS, Scott and Sam in the morning, and I'm going to be a good kid and I'm not going to go out and party anymore and I'm not going to lie and I'm not going to honor my parents and I'm not going to go around and do this anymore. And then I started hanging around with some people that I used to hang around with. Started doing some things that I shouldn't have been doing. And pretty soon I started breaking those things in very dramatic ways. I was going out and getting drunk and I was sleeping with girls and doing things I shouldn't have been doing. And then I would go to Pastor Nate Linseth, who was our college-age pastor, and I'd go, Nate, I did it again, I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm a horrible person, I don't even know if I'm saved, I don't know what's wrong with me, and I'm expecting him to be like, you're an idiot, what the heck is wrong with you? Like I wanted him to punish me, but he always said, you know what, Shawn, you're better than that, you're a child of God, you are the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus, you are covered by the blood, and the living God is inside of you, that sin has no control over you, and he didn't give up on me. And that spoke volumes to me about who God was as he lived that out for me. Pastor Brian Dolman, the senior pastor at my church, has a saying that I love, and he says, there's grace for that. And you can just put whatever in that. And that's something that I try to live by. And I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that struggles giving grace to other people. Maybe I'm the only one that has problems with that. I don't know what you would do if someone cut you off on the freeway, or if you're going down to the waterfront over here, and somebody's double parked, or like like downtown Bellevue, someone's always like put their stupid car like right over the line, and you're like going through, and it's the one spot that you see, and it's taken. What do? TSA. Have you guys ever been to the airport and like they have you take off your belt, they have you take off your shoes, wait in a line, and they like harass you. They treat you like a terrorist. Like I was getting ready on a military flight. I had orders from the government. I'm like barely able to walk because I just got out of rehab before getting blown up trying to keep terrorists out of the country. And these guys are harassing me, giving me a hard time. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You know, like, what do you do with those people? What about in the church? What about as a ministry student who's supposed to be working at your church, like helping out, volunteering your time? You guys know what EGR is, right? Extra grace required. What do you do with those people? It's the people that come in with their pesky parents, the troubled teenage kids, the nonstop talkers, the needy, angry, and just emotionally jacked up people. The people that should be on Jerry Springer. Okay, they come up with the same stuff every week. They come at the altar and they bawl their eyes out and they say, I just can't seem to break this habit. I just can't seem to shake this. What do you do with these people that test your patience and bring you to the breaking point? What are we supposed to do in these situations? What do you do with the Shawn Seeleys of the world? The good news is the Bible has a lot to say about this, actually. We're not alone in our struggle to give grace to other people, and we're not alone in our frustrations. God is always ready to extend grace to other people who would ask for it, no matter who they are. We're going to look at Jonah 3:10 through 4:4. That's the passage that I got. And I'm going to read you verse 3:10 out of the ESV because I think they do a better job of like translating it and getting across what is actually trying to be said there. It says that when God saw what they did, how they turned from their evil way, he relented of the disaster that he said he would do to them, and he did not do it. And we all know now, because of the other people that have spoken, and you've all done your research, that the Ninevites were Assyrians, and they weren't getting along with the Israelites. Jonah's a prophet. God tells him, I want you to go over there. Jonah says, sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. I'm going to go to Tarshish, okay? And then, of course, there's the storm. Jonah gets thrown over, gets swallowed by the great fish or the whale, however you want to look at that. And he gets vomited out 3 days later, and he's like, okay, I'm in. Let's do this. So he gets over there, and he tells them, hey, in 40 days, your city's going to be destroyed. And the king says, whoa, that's not good. How about we all repent? I'm going to step down from my throne. I'm going to throw in some burlap and sit in some ashes, and no one's going to eat or drink, not even the animals. And who knows, maybe God will change his mind. Some of the other translations say things like, God changed his mind about what he was going to do. God repented of the evil that he had planned in the King James. And I'm not okay with that. Like, that is a really bad translation. I have a problem with a God who repents of evil. I don't know about you. I like to think that my God is no evil. My God is good. In some of the other translations, it says that he relented, had compassion, or revoked his sentence, or that he had pity on the people. And I really believe that that's a better translation for what's going on. It's really easy for us to think that God changes his mind from our perspective, where we can look and say, you know what, God said that he was going to destroy the city in 40 days, but he didn't do it. And even the king said, who knows, maybe God will change his mind. But we all know that God doesn't change his mind, right? We all know that God is omniscient and knows what's going to happen ahead of time. God has everything planned out. In Numbers 23:19, it says that God is not a man, so he does not lie. He is not human, so he doesn't change his mind. 1 Samuel 15:29 says, and he who is the glory of Israel, God, will not lie, nor will he change his mind, for he is not a human that he should change his mind. God doesn't change his mind. He's got it all figured out. Jonah 4:1 through 3, I'm going to read it out of the Message. I really think that it's a better translation for this passage because it's emotive, and he's like throwing a temper tantrum with God. He's arguing with him. He's crying like a little baby. It says in verse 1, Jonah was furious. He lost his temper. He yelled at God. God, I knew it. When I was back home, I knew this was going to happen. That's why I ran off to Tarshish. I knew you were sheer grace and mercy, not easily angered, rich in love, and ready as a drop of a hat to turn your plans of punishment into a program of forgiveness. So God, if you won't kill them, kill me, because I'm better off dead. What a drama queen. Are you kidding me? I'm better off dead. If you're not going to kill them, kill me. What the heck is wrong with this guy? The thing that I love about this is that Jonah really understands who God is, and he understands the character of God. That's his excuse, because he says, you know what, God? I knew you were going to do this. I knew you were going to forgive the people anyway. That's why I did this. And we learn 4 things about God and his character from Jonah. We learn that God is sheer grace and mercy, that God's not easily angered, that he's rich in love, and that he's ready at the drop of a hat to turn his plans of punishment into a program of forgiveness. God is always ready to forgive. It's like he's looking for an excuse to forgive people. God doesn't change his mind like a man, but he's always inclined to give grace to those who would ask for it, which is why he's so upset with God's decision. In verse 4:4, God says, Jonah, what do you have to be angry about? After this whole temper tantrum and he's just fussing, God says, what do you have to be angry about? And it's a rhetorical question that we don't get an answer to. And the only real answer to that is nothing. He has nothing to be angry about. The only thing that he could possibly be angry about is the taint on his reputation as a prophet, because what said was going to happen didn't happen. But since he knows who God is, and he knew that God was going to do this anyway, what reason does he have to be upset? He doesn't have one. God is always ready to extend grace to others, no matter who they are. I don't know if you guys have heard the story of the lost son or the prodigal son, but it's a parallel in the New Testament to this story that Jesus tells in Luke chapter 15, verses 11 through 32. I'm going to paraphrase that for you a little bit. I think it's fun to paraphrase rather than just to read. So verses 11 through 20 kind of sets up the whole story here. Jesus is talking to some Pharisees, and they're upset because he's hanging out with some bad people, and they're not okay with that because they're all uptight and religious and stuff. And he tells the story of a lost coin, a lost sheep, and then he gets to a lost son. And he says that a young kid comes up to his father, he's the youngest of the two sons, and he says, Dad, I want my inheritance now. Pretty much saying, I wish you were dead because I just want your stuff. Just give me my stuff, I want to get out of here. And the dad doesn't fight him or anything, he just gives him the stuff, and it says in a couple of days that he left, and he went and he did some wild and crazy things, was irresponsible with his money, right? He spends it on hookers and wild living, and I think if it happened today, he'd be out in Vegas, which I'm going to be out there in 2 weeks with my interns, not being wild and crazy and spending money on hookers. So he goes out there, does all this stupid stuff, and he's working with the pigs, and there's a famine in the land, and he can't even eat the pig slop that the pigs are eating. Like in Vegas, they take like the leftover buffet food, and that's actually pig food. I learned that on Dirty Jobs. It's a great show. I recommend that you watch it. So he can't even eat the leftover junk that the pigs are eating, right? He's wanting to eat these pods the pigs are eating, and since there's a famine going on in these pods, it's like eating a dry up, old, nasty, rubbery banana peel kind of a thing. Like he wants to eat that. Like that's how hungry he is. He's like, this is stupid. What did I do? I need to go home and tell my dad I'm not worthy of being your son. Take me on as a servant because at least then I'll have something to eat and something to wear. So he goes home, and Luke 15:21 through 32, he says, Father, I've sinned against both heaven and you, and I am no longer worthy of being called your son. And verse 22 changes everything. Because it says, but. And but negates everything that happened before. And the father doesn't ridicule him or do anything like that. The father runs out to him, embraces him, and kisses him, puts a ring on his finger, puts sandals on his feet, gives him the robe, and says, let's throw a party because my son is home. You know what happens to the older brother? The older brother throws a party too, but it's a pity party. He acts like Jonah. He said, are you kidding me, Dad? I did everything you ever asked. I'm the perfect son. I never went against anything you ever said, and you never even cooked a goat for me and my friends. A goat, like who really wants a goat? He's like, but you slaughtered the fattened calf for my brother, this son of yours. He's not even like a brother. He's this son of yours. How messed up is that? The dad says, you know what? We've got to celebrate. Your brother was dead, and now he's alive. He was lost, and now he's found. He doesn't care about what he did. All he cares is that he's back, he's home, and he wants to celebrate. God showed grace to the Ninevites, who are the younger brother in this story. And God also showed grace to the older brother, who's Jonah. Okay? And we know the father in this story is God. God has grace for the younger brother and the older brother. He has grace for the Ninevites and for Jonah. God is always ready to extend grace to others, no matter who they are. And you might be wondering, how does this apply to me? Well, I'm going to tell you, the next time that you don't feel like somebody else deserves grace, remind yourself of who you are too. Somebody had to get you to where you are today. Don't be a Jonah. Don't be the older brother. Be like the father. Be excited when somebody else receives grace. As a Christian today, this should speak to you and tell you that when you deal with those EGRs, guess what? You're one too. Everyone needs God's grace, and we should be happy to give it to other people. Let's be like God, sheer grace and mercy, eager to extend the grace that we've received to other people.